5:56. I'd like to bring the Public Service Committee to order. We only have one item on the agenda, order number 191007758. An application for a fuel storage license for Embry Incorporated, 53 Brigham Street. And I guess we probably start in with Robert Cummings. You're a consultant for Embry?
Yes, I'm a fire safety.
Yeah, just give us a brief overview. Some of us know what you guys do, I guess, but this is televised and people like to know somewhat. Embry's all about, yeah.
Okay. Do I need to push any buttons?
Nah, you should talk.
Okay. So basically, Embry's a company that's in the process of manufacturing batteries for use on the power grid. They're not for use by a private home or whatever, but it's for the main power grid system. And the fuel storage that we're talking about here is used in the manufacture of the batteries that they're putting together. They're done in basically a manufacturing process to do that, and the storage is, we've set up a separate room to do that through.
Okay. Angela, you got something you'd like to add, or? You've waited all this time, so I want to give you a chance to be on TV.
No, I don't want to be on TV. No, just that it's for energy storage, and it's new technology, and we've had quite a bit of interest from some leading companies. So we're actually at a phase where we're getting out of the R&D more into development to going towards the manufacturing phase.
See?
And that's why we're looking to increase our calcium storage.
Right, okay. You know, I look at the information that Assistant Chief Flynn sent us, and it's quite involved here. It talks about the materials and quantities and the qualities and what's allowed and so forth. And, you know, I haven't looked at a chart like this since I took, high school chemistry or something. But it was kind of interesting. But we do depend upon our experts, and the Deputy Fire Chief is actually an expert in this area. We depend upon these guys. So he did send me an email back, I guess.
Sir, I would add one point to what we did. We spent about 2 weeks of time working with Deputy Flynn and your building commissioner
Okay.
to verify
Mr. Cook, yeah, okay.
that the quantities that we're putting forth here were going to be within the code and meet the code criteria. And that's what the supporting information that we put together, the separate storage facility
Yeah.
for them. And the primary reason we're here is to get a license, not to get an exception to the quantities, because they're all within code.
Right, and that's what, after we vote tonight.
Correct.
You will have that license, Okay, my colleagues, Councilor Doucette, would you like to have some questions or
Yeah.
add something?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. I've done a bit of research on your company. If I understand correctly, the storage solutions, battery storage solutions that you're doing towards utilities, they're effectively tractor-trailer trailers, right? That's about the size of the battery that's being shipped to the site, right? Is that true?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. And it's molten salt, right? Well, it's been,
It is molten salt. They're using primarily calcium granules. They do have some lithium rod on site that they used in some of their early development that they're no longer using, but it's still stored on site.
okay.
Both of those, the lithium rods and the calcium crystals, or granules, are included within the 1,000 pounds that we're asking for the license on.
Okay, when you say 1,000 pounds, you also talk about 5-gallon containers. But how many pounds is there in a 5-gallon container?
Brought some show and tell.
I get to see that.
People thought I think was trick or treating, but
Yeah,
but pretty much we get our calciums in 2.5 kilogram bags that are double sealed in argon, and then we put them in these sort of 2.5 gallon or 5 gallon drums, and then put it in a flammable cabinet. But pretty much everything has a different sort of amount and things like that, but what we actually put in the battery is we measure in weight. So that's why we're asking for those sort of things.
Yeah,
Increase.
okay. No, it's just because you jumped from weight to gallons.
Yeah, it
so
goes all
it's
over,
like,
but it's
okay.
more, that's how they sell the containers than
Right,
anything
but you're
else.
doing your own containers, like, so you get the bag and you do your own containers to store
Right,
it.
so she had used 2.5 kilograms, which is equivalent to 5.5 pounds.
And as far as and that's for the calcium crystals, and if those if those react with water, then you get into an issue, right? Is that true?
They are water reactive, they're 4.3.
They are water reactive.
Two materials.
They're not a problem unless they're heated from a reaction viewpoint.
Right, okay. So I'm just, and they will be stored separate in a fire retardant container or
Yeah.
cabinet from everything else, so they're
Correct.
off there.
And when in use, it will be in a glove box.
Okay, right, yep,
Yeah, just to clarify your storage, in addition to being in these containers, they have them in what they're calling a flammable or combustible liquids cabinet.
Mhm.
And those are stored inside a 1-hour storage room. And when I say 1 hour, it's 1 hour construction. So there's a separate room within their space, which is delineated in the package that you have there. There's a special room.
Yep.
That room is identified as a storage room. That's a 1-hour enclosure, separating it from the rest of the building.
Yep.
And within that are the flammable liquid storage cabinets, and then these are inside those cabinets.
so what specifically are the flammable liquids? I mean, you refer to the calcium crystals as the solids, so what are the liquids? I mean, that's kind of,
They have some other liquids in there, but they're all minor. I think they're more, there may be some
Some solvents.
some
like-
solvents and
Acetone.
there may be some
Acetone,
acetone or other
isopropanol.
products like that that are used to either clean materials or in the process of what they're doing. Those liquids that they have are flammable liquids are below the threshold that's identified in the code that allows them to have that within the space.
yeah,
And in the document that we gave you, supporting this, that identifies how much they have in there for quantity of, they have, and it breaks it down by class for the flammable combustible liquids and other products that they have in there.
mhm, okay. I was just more concerned about that you have flammable liquids and flammable solids, as long as they're being isolated. so
They have
that-
they each have their own flammable cabinet, so in the flammable cabinet for the calcium, it's only calcium solids in there.
Mhm.
Right,
Or
so it's
any other
separate storage
flammable
for
solid.
them.
Yep.
It's isolated storage, so that is a true statement.
Right, okay, because I just wanted to make sure that was clarified and on the record.
Yeah, it's
Um,
clarified by them, and it's a requirement by OSHA as well as the fire codes.
Okay, thank you for that.
Question?
And,
Question back here?
Councilor Irish.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, in regards to, for safety measures, will any updating have to be made for any safety measures for employees? For any, I mean, is that, through the state, is it once a year to educate your employees on safety measures and how to handle?
Yes, we have an annual hazard communication refresher training that I do, and we also update and review our emergency action plan, which also is trained to all the employees on site.
So I was wondering if this would trigger another update if you're changing anything on the blueprint at all?
Well, it's actually happening because we recently have new landlords, so we're having to update everything anyway, so it'll all get
Oh,
updated
very good.
in this timeframe.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. President, this is right down your line now, Mr. President.
She
Former
walked in-
teacher,
she-
chemistry, bio teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, you walked in, I thought you were bringing me a 5-gallon pail of
Trick or treat.
calcium hypochlorite. But it's,
No, I asked her to have it empty versus having the product being in your building.
now, when you receive the chemicals, the calcium, do they come in bags, you said? And then you isolate them into the containers?
Correct. They're in in the bags in a cardboard box.
So when they arrive on the tailgate, you transfer them into the building, and then place them in a 5-gallon container. How many of those do you go through in the period of a week?
Right now, not, maybe like 5 kilograms, so 2 of the smaller ones. But
So you're
again,
not
we're
using-
looking for ramping up.
At any one time, how many of these pails would you have? At any one time? 10,000? Or
Well,
1,000?
let me answer that for you. So basically, their license they're asking for is 1,000 pounds total.
Right.
So if each one of these is 5 pounds, you're looking at, what is that, 200 pails in the building at one time minus.
Any one time?
So maybe 198 minus the lithium rods that they have in there, which is 27 pounds. That's the maximum that they would have. Right now, they're using limited quantities, but as they ramp up and get their process going, as she said, they would do an R&D, now they're trying to get into actual manufacturing, they will have that quantity in the building, 1,000 pounds.
You have a water reactive solid? You have a water reactive solid. What is, class 1? What's that?
But the class 1, the water reactive class 1 means it will react with the water when water hits it if it's on fire, but it won't react in a violent nature the way tantalum or some of the other
They pop.
in pop, like some of the other metals that react like that. This is it's classified as a combustible or flammable solid, but all the MSDS sheets on it say that it acts very similar to a flammable metal. And we use the same type of extinguishing agents, which are the powders and the sands on this that we would use on flammable metals.
What do you have for a fire suppression system?
Right now, they have a sprinkler system in the building.
It,
And it's fully sprinkler, which is required by code.
true, but if you have a water reactive,
Well, the water reactive is, and that's where the 1-hour storage room comes into play, as well as the containers which are sealed, and then the plastic bag that's inside that.
right,
So we're doing kind of double or triple duty to try and isolate that product from the water and keep it away from the water. Also by keeping it in the container and sealed in the bag, it's keeping it from moisture in the air as well, so it's not moist by the time if something does happen. When they're using the product and it's not in storage, it's the quantities that are out in the building are within the limits of the code, and it's typically in what you have
Inert
defined
glove
as
boxes.
a inert glove box.
I find this interesting because when you go into Ocean State Job Lot, they have all of this chlorine shock.
For the pools, yeah.
Yeah.
And right beside it is the algicide. You don't want to mix those two together. No, I find this interesting that you have to get a permit for this, but down there, if they ever had anything happen down there, you know, you produce a little chlorine gas, so.
Councilor Roby, do you have any questions or comments? It's kind of interesting stuff. Yeah, I was dying to drop in today, but, you know, I went up, drove around. You have several receiving areas. Are they all connected? I mean, like, you're at the far end, I guess.
No, the receiving areas are not connected, they're independent locations. Their entire space is connected, you can walk from space
Yeah.
to space.
But the receiving
And
areas,
the different receiving areas they have are a function of the product that they're doing and putting together and
Right.
getting product in and out of the building. So that's why they have the different receiving areas.
yeah. As I say, I was curious. I just kept riding around.
Our main chemical receiving is in the Unit 3 that we're discussing now, and like for Unit 1, we have its own shipping, receiving dock, but that's because that's where all the cell fabrication, so that's where all the heavy metals have to be, like the sheet metals and stuff
I
have to
counted all the
go.
numbers, you know, but yet I knew I wanted to get to 8, and I finally
If you
did.
go up the hill and go all the way around, you'll hit us.
As I mentioned, Deputy Flynn earlier, he did send us an email back on, I guess a week ago on the 9th. Basically, what he's saying, Councilors, this license change is for the storage of flammable solids, which is the same code as flammable liquids, fuel storage. I have reviewed this with the company and the engineer consulting firm that does their work for them. I have no objection to the increase, and that's what we're going on. So, if there's any further questions, or if I have a motion, that,
Motion to approve?
okay, to approve the order number 191007758, which increases the storage. Okay, so, we got a second on that?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, do you have any other comments, something you'd like to add, or?
Is there any urgency to this?
I just had a question. Once it's approved, what do they have to do to get their license?
Okay, what will happen now? We're gonna, we'll vote it, okay, let's vote. All in favor? 3-0, okay, we voted. I will report it out.
Go for
Probably
suspension.
Should we move on this, Council?
If we, I think that, are you in business presently, or wanting to go into business?
They're wanting to move into this as soon as they can.
Yeah,
In other words, their business depends upon this license.
That's correct.
So in other words, the sooner we approve this license, the better off they're gonna be.
That's
In
correct.
other words, it goes before the council on Monday night. If we
This
suspend the
Monday coming.
rules,
Correct.
we can allow them to, receive their license.
That would
But
be
we have to
fantastic,
suspend the
yes, thank you.
rules.
Yes,
and
I
vote on
understand.
it.
I heard that
That
earlier.
moves it up quicker.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if you will agree with that, Mr. President, we can have a motion.
Yeah,
to,
motion to
see.
have a
Okay,
suspension.
all in favor? Aye.
Second.
So, it'll be next Monday, he's the president, so he's the boss, and we'll vote on it, and then, I guess, actually, the fire department will
Fire
grant the
department.
license.
Fire department is the one that really is, they have to deal with it.
Right, so once the council's voted on it, that gets approved, then we go to the fire department to get the actual
Yeah,
license.
That's who
once
issues
we
it.
approve it.
I was gonna say, I assume there's a certain time frame after they
There's a
vote.
time
20
period.
days?
How many
We'll take-
days?
We'll take the 20 days, Karen? Yeah.
I don't think
Okay.
it's.
So approximately 20
that's
days,
for a
so we can
special
check,
permit.
okay.
But there's no reason why this should move along. And, again, welcome to Marlborough, and I'm gonna drop in someday, though, but I wasn't, I'll call first. It's kind of
Oh,
interesting.
you're welcome.
Kind of interesting. Okay, I guess that's all on our agenda, so do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Okay, I'll second that. All in favor? And thank everybody. We've had a busy night.